If you want to hear content that'll make you laugh so hard that you shit your pants like Joe Biden at the Vatican, then go to www.NTTFGPOD.com and subscribe. I'm Rock.
And I'm Archie.
Well, our opinions, they might not matter to some, but...
What are you doing in there?
It's a podcast.
Immature, crass, trashy. And those are their good qualities. These poor schmucks are a couple of IQ points away from eating paste. But when it comes to music, sports, and comedy, well, that's all they know. You're listening to
Not These Two Fucking Guys.
Not These Two Fucking Guys podcast.
So my wife has a dick war with one of her friend's husband.
A dick war? All right. Do tell.
It sounds.
I'll bite.
That's the problem. No, it's a lot. It's actually a lot less risque than it is. So for the past 4 or 5 years, Lisa's friend's husband and my wife get into in this war of it was once it was sending you a shirt with dicks on it, socks with dicks on it, or a picture of a straw with a dick, and you know what I'm saying, Spencer shit, right?
Now I understand what dick war means.
Yeah. A picture of it somehow on something. Everybody has a war with somebody, that type of shit.
Yeah.
Right? So this year, I commend my wife, because she has a fabulous idea. She's like, you want to know what he's getting this year? And I said, what? A video from Andy Dick.
That's pretty cool.
I go, that's phenomenal. How much? She goes, $100. I was like, that's fucked up. $100? Really, motherfucker? All right, Andy Dick. Let's see what you got. So she sends it in and
like Cameo, one of those things?
On Cameo, and he writes, she writes, happy birthday, so and so. We're having a dick war for the past couple of years. We go back and forth with this and that. It was very minor direction, but enough direction that you would think, you know what's going on.
Yeah.
Andy Dick sent back a fucking 8-minute video.
What?
It was about the most random shit that you would ever fucking hear.
Oh God.
Not only was it random, he was like, but I get it. He's he's fucking out of his mind.
Yes.
He's taken a monkey and monkey's jerking off, like a stuffed animal. Then he's taking a shark and the shark's blowing the monkey. And then he's like, hey, happy birthday. And then he starts jerking off, another dick type of reference. So I think he took the humor that direction. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he would just look outside and just go, well, on your bird tonight, that is awesome. You see that? And 7 bikers went by, but bicyclists.
Mm-hmm.
But he said that he's like, every Tuesday there's another bike rally that goes by, and I wish I was part of that. I got my bike stolen. It was he was just randomly talking,
riffing,
just randomly riffing.
And cameos are normally a minute long, if that.
Really?
Yeah, they're not long.
Oh no, this shit was fucking. Maybe I'm lying by saying 3 or 4 minutes. Then 5 minutes, something like that. I gotta find out. I watched it once, but all I'm saying, it was enough for me to say, "Holy shit!" And then at it, he would just go up. Somebody else was there. He's talking to her.
Listen, you get your bang for your buck with him on that, right?
I guess so. So then she thought he totally missed the point, right? If you go on Andy Dick's profile and you watch his videos, they're all like that. He's just
he's out there.
He's out there.
Remember his MTV show was fucking amazing.
Why can't I recall his MTV show?
Oh my God, it was so fucking good. Andy Dick show.
Was it what variety show or no? No, what was it?
It was like basically like sketch comedy.
Really? I don't remember.
It was really good. You should go back and watch it.
I vaguely remember this.
He's a character.
He's a big character. Wasn't Andy Dick on a TV show?
Yeah, you know what? Let's look that up. He was on a TV show. Like, I think before he like fucking lost his mind.
Yeah.
And a pretty big show too. Hang on, let's take a look and see.
Did someone say the Big Show?
Andrew Rowan Dick, born Andrew Tomlinson. It might be Tomlinson, but there's an H in there. So he was on a show called News Radio.
That's right, with Joe Rogan.
Let's take a look.
That's right.
Joe Rogan, yeah.
The News Radio. And Phil Hartman.
Phil Hartman. From 95 to 1998.
And what was he? Like the sidekick?
He was the kick. Hang on. He played Matthew Brock, a news reporter. Superficially clumsy, naive, and immature, he is the butt of many physical jokes on the show. He is often seen tripping, falling, flying over furniture, or handling electronics that explode or catch fire. All right.
Andy Dick. He posted it on his site, too, on his Cameo profile. And it was interesting. It was very fucking interesting video. Like, you got your bang for your buck. Because you would usually get, like, maybe like a fighter or somebody like, hey, how you doing, Rocco? Listen, your pal Archie says you got big nuts, but you know how to use them. Hey, happy birthday, man.
Yo, but go back and watch the Andy Dick show. I'm going to actually go back and watch that. It's got to be on one of these streaming services.
Can we watch it together?
There's a lot of celebrities and musicians and people on. I remember it being hilarious. It was like 2001, 2002-ish.
All right. Yo, why don't we watch it together?
Holding dicks.
But separately.
Alone. In company.
I want to start a band called The Hot Ice.
Oh. We used to like think of like bad names, and Archie would always have he called him yo, I fucking got it. And everyone that he gave me was like an oxymoron. From a fucking moron. He goes, ready? Hear me out. Like, you thought you were gonna blow me away. You're like alone in company. I'm like, are you fucking with me? Hot ice.
I don't care. Alone in Company is one of the best names ever. Yeah. Nobody liked Carry Out Your Dead. I thought that was a great name.
Yeah, I fucking hated that.
Why?
I have a band. We're going to be called Jerk On.
Walk a 100-pound pit bull down the street. I'm a tough-looking son of a bitch, okay? I walk a 3-pound peekaboo down the street. They're looking for my husband walking behind me.
Yo, Rock.
What's up?
This is going to be a fun one, man. This is going to be interesting. Our next guest is the author of a relatable and inspiring biography that contains lessons for everyone who has made a mistake. Shit.
Yeah, you should probably read up quickly.
Where was this book 20 years ago? Welcome to Not These Two Fucking Guys podcast. Author of Wild Dogs, Christos Kalogirou. What's up, bro?
Not much. You nailed the last name. I just wanted to say thank you. Guys, thanks for having me.
No, we appreciate your time, and this is very interesting to us. Rocco and I were talking last week. We knew we were going to have you on for a little while, and this is pretty much like somewhat of a comeback story, no?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think you could definitely paint that picture for sure.
We all like a comeback story. And we can definitely relate because Rocco and myself are definitely professionals in fucking up. And
yeah, right on.
And a little bit that we were talking before this, you said that it hit it hit the Wall Street Journal,
Wall Street Journal and USA Today. Yeah,
this book. Wow, that's pretty cool, bro.
In under a month, which is like I just wanted to write a book to make my friends laugh, and it's doing more than that. And I mean. Other opportunities like to come on your guys' show and other ones that are coming down the pipe. It's just trying to take it in strides and not taking it as it comes. So it's all new to me, obviously, and I don't prep for these. So ask me anything and I'll answer truthfully.
Well, first off, give us
Need some background.
Yeah, give us and our audience a little background, how you fucked up and where'd you start, and I'm just joking around, but on all seriousness, give us a little background.
I went away to a private school in Saskatchewan, a place called Wilcox, Saskatchewan, and I was fucking around the whole time I was there.
Yeah.
And when I was in grade 9, I think I had like one beer. I had never drank alcohol before, even before that. I don't think anyways. So in my grade 10 year, I'm in the big dorm now with the bigger guys. So in your grade 9 dorm, it's just grade 9s and you're secluded, obviously for good reason. So the school knew what they were doing there.
Yeah.
And then when you get into grade 10, you're mixed in a dorm with grades 9s, 10s, and 11s, right? So you got guys drastically more mature than you. And I mean, these guys, you look up to them, they're like kings, you know what I mean? When you're that age, you're just like, oh, these guys are so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And there was some guys, when I was in grade 10, they were in grade 12. And I learned quickly that we used to do these things called pizza runs. So you'd go around, because we're 45 minutes from the nearest city.
Okay.
So the food's not the greatest at the time. This is like 15, 20 years ago, depending on the year. And you'd be like, pizzas were $8. So you'd take $10 from a kid and he'd pick the pizza he wanted. And then you had $2 for tax or whatever else. There was also guys doing this with booze.
Okay.
So they'd go around and be like, okay, guys, we got vodka. And it was like a list and like all professional. But, I tried the whiskey last week. Let's do the vodka. And I'm like, so I realized that guys, obviously the margins were a lot higher. And they were like, yo, you find us whatever it was, 10 or 15 kids to drink. We'll give you a flask for free.
Yeah.
Oh, so I was like, fucking right. It's like natural sales guy here. I was doing this every Friday and Saturday. So every Friday and Saturday up until January, I was drinking every weekend, every day, Friday and Saturday.
Nice.
And I was making these guys crazy sales. So the thing is when I was going into grade 11, they were leaving. So there was nobody that I knew to, quote unquote, take over the business. I remember I worked in we owned a pizza place when we were kids. Well, my dad did, and me and my brother worked there. And I was telling them, throughout the summer, how much they spent on alcohol and all this shit. And then we got this bright idea, and I'm like, man, we'll put it in water bottles, and you'll mail it to me. And it sounded genius back then, but that's what we did. And this went on pretty heavily for quite some time, and it was profitable until it wasn't. And I hope people that will pick it up and read it. And the gist of it is, I got caught. I got the boot. And I explain in detail how it all happened, but there's a lot more than that. I'd like to think there's a little bit of everything. And I think that everybody can find themselves in my story. The specifics might be mine, but this scenario is something I don't know anyone that couldn't relate.
Yeah.
Sure.
I just do it in a funny way. And I know that, when you're that age, you think that you fuck up so bad that that's it. You can't come back from it. And I mean, this is just another one of those situations.
So you get booted out. What happens after that? What do your parents say? That's got to be the worst feeling in the world.
I just remember the one thing I remember that's not in my book. I don't even think I've told anybody this, but my mom picked me up from the airport and there was a shouting match the whole way home. And I remember it was Halloween. I got booted on Halloween, 31st. So I get home and my brother is getting ready to go to a Halloween party.
Okay.
And he meets me at the door and he's dressed like a nun. And so you fucking snitched on me, did you? In a full nun costume. We had it out for a little bit, but I mean, that was moons ago. But just looking back now on, all those little things that kind of unfolded, I remember I had to pay back every dime that cost it. My mom paid me. It was I think it was like $18,000 or something. And I was working shit jobs. And back then, I mean, making shit money. And I remember she had this piece of paper and she was marking the amount. I'd pay her $5 and she'd mark it down to the penny till I owed her nothing.
My mom did the same thing.
Just out of spite from me, you're stupid. But I paid it all back. And then I got to go back in grade 12 because they said, if you meet such requirements, which was grades, obviously, that you could go back. And I did.
Now,
nice.
when you went back, was there a new outlook?
I was fucking around still.
Didn't learn a thing.
And I don't write about that because it kind of ends with me getting the boot because I mean, it's just more malarkey. It's just more bullshit.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't relevant. And I mean, obviously working with Scribe, which they've been amazing. Tucker and everybody there. It's just, I took all these stories and they turned it into a flowing book, which I had, but they're professionals, and obviously as good as it's done I would not have been able to do without them. So
how did that go? Something like that. Did you just like meet with is that like a ghostwriter? I don't know much about this.
No, it wasn't like that. I had the whole thing written.
Okay.
Some parts I had to rewrite, but I was quite adamant that none of it was written for me. There may have been suggestions, and this was just for flow, not for content.
Okay.
The content is all mine.
Yeah.
But I read a book called I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell like 15 years ago. And I was like, man, this guy wrote about, like, I could write a book.
Yeah.
And then I started writing, and I like shelved it, came back to it, shelved it, like, whatever. It was always like a little project that I had. And then years later, like, whoa, man, it must have been like a year and a half ago now. A buddy of mine was on like a fellowship call, and one of the guys on the call, they were talking about this guy that went to a private school. He's the only kid in history to be booted and go back. And the guy was like, man, this story sounds crazy. Like, is this true? And he's like, yeah, it's 100% true. He's like, well, if he doesn't have a deal, like, let me get my people to talk to him. And that guy was Tucker Max. So the very guy that got me to write because of his book is the guy that signed me to publish my book.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, true story. Yeah. Wild.
That's pretty awesome.
Good dude. Very good dude.
That's like a fucking sign right there, or just something.
Yeah. everything I've with this product, I mean, everything I said that I was going to do, I've done.
Yeah.
And, I don't like to jinx it and talk about what the future holds, but if I can get even half of what I'm trying to accomplish from this, I got no complaints now. So never mind what the future holds, which looks bright.
So let us know. We want to hear some shenanigans. You don't have to get them all, but we want to hear some fuck-uppery.
Ones that are in the book or not in the book?
Whatever you want to lay on us and our audience. Absolutely.
So it was a big, I'll tell you this one. I didn't do this, but some guys so this is another thing too. Like, it's my book, but it's everybody's stories. And I don't just mean everybody's like yours and Rocky's and whatever, but it's like anyone who's a teenager can relate to this. So you had all this stuff that, the best jokes and pranks are the stuff that you can't make up. And
got it.
Bill Burr, I was listening to today. He said that summer school was like going to college for comedy. You were a prankster, and then you level up and you're like, these guys are fucking on another level. So when I'm in grade 9, I'm meeting these guys older than me that I thought were so much cooler, and like just little things like harmless that I used to think were just hilarious. So you used to have to work like the scoreboard, a lot of hockey. There'd be 5-6 games a day, maybe more.
Okay.
And you'd work the score clock, and you'd get, if you were in trouble and you worked hours, it's like working for, like, you get, instead of getting money, you just get your points back, right? You have like a point system.
Working off your debt.
Working off your debt of being a jackass, or maybe you were drinking and you get dished hours. Like, they had all kinds of shit like that. If you did this, disrespect 16 hours, drank 36 hours, or whatever it was.
Wow.
And there was a few guys telling me, they were older than me. I didn't even go to school with them. They were telling me this years later at a bar. They're like, oh, you went to Notre Dame? And I'm like, yeah. And then they started telling me that we used to have to do hours. We used to work the score clock at the girls' hockey games. And we were doing a tournament one year, and we used to take the hockey pucks and we'd heat it up on the vent. Well, when you heat up rubber, it bounces. So they'd be heating up the pucks and handing them to the refs. And then this fucking puck is bouncing all over the goddamn place, fucking up the stats. People have flown in from wherever these teams are to watch their team play. And the ref was just like, I guess they handed him a puck that was like too hot, like in the third period. He goes, all right, that's enough. You guys stop fucking around. I was like that one. So harmless fun. And
yeah.
My stories, although they make people laugh, they actually happened, as crazy as they sound. Like everything that I talk about, the only person I disrespect is myself. But everything, I think that people will pick it up and they'll be like, how is this guy like, doing this now and this now? Like, I just didn't learn my lesson until they were like, that's enough. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And which was warranted for sure. Like, I have a good relationship with the very guy that kicked me out. It was ultimately his decision. He did the forward for the book. His name's Terry O'Malley.
Really?
The utmost respect for him as an Olympian lacrosse coach, was my president when I went there. Just a very good man.
Yeah.
Very good man.
Wow. So that there's some redemption in there, I think that's really cool. Like someone who you probably at one point were looking at like going, oh, this guy's going to just fucking ream me out. Like he doesn't, or I mean, I don't know how you felt at the time. You might have been like, fuck you, I don't care. Like,
oh no, I cared. It was like I had, that was the worst day of my life.
No.
When I got kicked out, and I'm 35 now. That happened when I was 17 or 18, 17.
Wow, imagine somebody telling you like the guy who kicked you out is going to write the forward in a book. Like that's just that's crazy.
And I mean, I remember when I had that meeting, I had to pick a teacher representative and I had to pick a student. And I haven't seen the student that I picked in probably 5 or 6 years, but we were very close. And he wrote me a message and he's like, hey man, I just want to say proud of you. And I ordered your book and I can't wait to relive this. And I think there's just a lot of trust with a lot of people that I went to school with, knowing of what kind of book that I would write. I wouldn't really be self-centered. It would kind of be like, hey, here's the whole picture. And that place saved my life. So when I was at this expulsion meeting and that guy started to talk, I just knew from the look in his face, I was like, I'm fucking out of here. Yeah. Like, there's nothing this guy can do. Like it's past the point now.
Yeah.
And so much respect for those people for handling it how they did, for allowing me to come back. And I would hope make it right. I mean, all of the proceeds go to a foundation that is something that I feel strongly about. And I know a lot of other people are involved that I went to school with and some that I didn't. Okay. And yeah, it just comes full circle, and it's the absolute very least that I could do. So
when did you first realize, like, I know you said that your friend had, obviously heard your story, told somebody, but like, when did you realize, wow, I have enough content and what happened in my life is important enough and funny enough / interesting enough to write a book?
I think I always knew that. I mean, I started writing this in 2005, and I remember my buddy Eddie Gale, who we went to school together from grade 9 to 12, still a very close friend, just texted me 5 minutes ago. And we were doing our grad write-up, and you know what those are, right? When you say, hey, big shout out to so-and-so, whatever. Well, we were doing all those, and there was just so much content. We'd have to write, like, read so-and-so's because there was just so much shit.
Yeah.
And I remember, like one of the guys, Eddie goes to me, he goes, someone should write a book. And it always stuck with me. And then I read Tucker's book, and I'm like, I'm going to write a book. And then just how it has all worked has been, I knew before it was even written, I'm like, this shit is fucking gold. It's not even all mine. Like all these funny things that we did over the years, I didn't make these things up. All the guys before me and before them, and it just evolved into what this Wild Dogs became.
I think the funniest stuff happens organically like that, where it's not like planned out, and it's what happened and what's real.
Real life is always the biggest comedy. And the stuff that I write in there, I think is pretty good, but I do it in a very light way. Cause like I have obviously still a good relationship with the school. Mm-hmm. And the funniest stuff that happened there was the funnier than any comedy movie I've ever seen in my life. Imagine now from up to grade 8, I wasn't even allowed to have a sleepover. Okay. And where I grew up, there was like, you didn't mess with like Aboriginal people. But not that I did. I have a lot of them that are friends, but these guys, they had a rougher background than me for sure.
Okay.
Now I'm going to a private school and I'm having a sleepover, and one of my roommates is from a reservation. And that in itself was such comedy, because I'm like, I wasn't ever allowed to have sleepovers. And now I'm living with a guy that would literally, I had my bike stolen by one of these guys the week before I went out to school. Great dude, good goalie. I met such incredible people there, and your view on certain cultures completely changed because you got people and different ethnicities from all over the world in one place, and the comedy just wrote itself. It was amazing. And some of these guys I'm still very close with.
Now, I'm sure like before the book was written, all these stories were passed around between you and your friends, right? I'm sure just at bar.
A lot of them were, yeah.
So when you finally got down to writing it with the company, like so all these stories that you remembered that they came out, how did you feel afterwards when all these stories were out? Like, was it like almost like I don't know about a self-accomplishment, but like just getting them all out?
I went through a stage where it was really important that I had acceptance from certain people, and I got their blessing. And that was like Terry that did the forward, or some other people. And Scribe was like, hey, you can't share this with too many people, and this is why. if you involve too many people, it's going to have a reverse effect. And I'm a firm believer of sticking to what you know and delegating what you don't. And I'm like, hey, these people are professionals. We're going to do it their way. But I had a lot of chapters. And a lot of them were like, hey, this isn't necessary because you're touching on this point here. This doesn't really have a lesson, so there's no point to put it in. And it's not just about funny stories. It's like I've had some people tell me that it reminds them of like The Goonies or Sandlot. Or that's like, that's, you want it to be timeless like that. And I think that someone could pick it up from any era and relate to it.
Yeah. Oh, man. I think this is pretty fucking cool, dude. I can't wait to. I want to really read this. Sit down and read this, and I want to give this a shot. Rocco and I, we always bounce off. We've been lifelong friends, so we've been bouncing off stories, and we've done shit that we can't say on the air. We've done stuff that we can't,
or in a book,
or in a book. But I think it takes a lot of balls to come out and and to actually have to come out, tell your stories, and to also have a lesson with them. So what is this? What would a reader almost come up with in their own right, reading from their own experience? What would be a good lesson for them from this book?
The main motto for me and anybody that would pick it up and read it is just to value your time, because I wasted a lot of it. And the majority of the people that I knew, not even were friends with, went on to university or became, it's not even about being a lawyer or a doctor or a dentist, but just became a good person.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the school always taught us. Is like, hey, just be like a stand-up guy. Like, don't go out in the world and like be for sale. That was like something that was instilled in us. And I just was like careless, and it hit me even after I graduated. I was like, holy shit, like I'm washing dishes at my dad's restaurant. Like, this is my life now.
Yeah.
And I had a teacher tell me one time, and I used to beat myself up over a lot of this stuff, but it's like, some people just learn the hard way, and that's the only way they learn. And that's you. And I'm just lucky that hard way didn't kill me more than once.
Where was the turnaround in life? Where was the point that after all this stuff had happened to you, where was your turnaround?
I went to school with a girl. She was a year younger than me. Her name is Mandi Schwartz, and complete opposite. And we weren't friends, but I didn't have a bad relationship with her. She didn't have a bad relationship with anybody.
Yeah.
But very good at school, worked very hard, valued her time there. Her family didn't have a lot of money.
Okay.
Got a scholarship to Yale University. And 2 years in, she started getting like fatigue. So they thought she had like anemia, and they got her tested, and they're like, no, you have leukemia. And this is somebody that it really, like, you always see people and you watch the commercials on TV. It's like, hey, call this number and reach out and you can help. And yeah, they hit you. But when you see somebody that got taught by the same people as you in the same school, ate the same food, it was a far different feeling for me.
Yeah.
And it just kind of came over me. And I'm like, that's it. Like, value your time here.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit before, but not like that. That was like a big, not just to me, that was a big shock to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because I started thinking, like, why would something like that happen to her and not happen to me? And like, you just start thinking about the unevenness in life. And then you were like, well, you can't dwell on that because you can't change that. But what can you do? So now what we do is we try to get people to swab their cheek, to get into the database, to try to be a bone marrow match for somebody out there that needs one. And Mandi lost her battle, unfortunately, but there's been, I think, close to 40 people, and I don't have it in front of me, that lives have been saved just from her efforts, not the entire one match program. And the demographic of people that they want to get is between 25 and 35, male. And yeah, I've seen people like one of her brothers at the time was playing for the St. Louis Blues in the NHL, and a random guy was at the game. Name was Michael. He's like, this looks cool. Swabbed his cheek. Saved a girl named Regan's life from the Deep South. And they're like very close friends now. And it's just like, if I pass away before my time and I leave 1/80th of the impact that Mandi did, I'll be fine.
That was gonna be one of my questions. I know that the proceeds from Wild Dogs goes to the Mandi Schwartz Foundation. With all the things you could do with money these days, obviously for yourself, for charity, like what is it? Because this hit so close to home because it's somebody that, like you said, went to the school you went to, ate the food you ate, and was like, one of your colleagues.
Yeah, like I never looked at this like a self-gain thing. I've been hustling and making money my whole life, doing whatever I could. But when this came, I was like, man, I'm not going to profit from, these are everybody's stories. These are not just mine.
Yeah.
Specifically the guys and girls that I went to school with.
Yeah.
So when, that foundation, there's a lot of foundations at the school, but that's something that obviously hit me because she went there during my era. I'm very close with her family now. And we do a lot of things for her causes, but it's like, I just never felt money was never the driving point for this. I was like, I want to make my friends laugh.
Yeah.
And it's done better than that. It continues to, which is just all this little stuff, like, or little or big, or the podcast I do, it all helps and the sales go up. And it's like, it's just a very cool experience. And so many people have made it happen, including you guys.
How long has this book been out for?
It came out August 17th. 17 was Mandi's number and her brother Jaden's hockey number now. Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
So this book is way more than just, it's awesome to hear the stories and your experience and your life adventure, but it's way more meaning, this book. From what you explained before, from the forward to the to how this book was, like, I guess, signed, so to say, how you got hooked up with the company to Mandi. Like this book is just way deeper, and I'm glad that we could actually talk to you about this because it means a lot.
Yeah, it was really important for me to show what a 15 or a 14-year-old kids go through where they go to a school and they haven't fit in and they're trying to fit in and then they fit in and then they're trying to stay cool and like all these things that you think matter when you're young. And then the effect that it had on me and my family and other families, like getting all these kids wasted all the time. They're there for hockey. They're not performing and just the trickle down effect was like a fucking disaster, man. Like I look back now and I'm like, holy shit. Like just everything has a cause and effect.
Yep.
It could have been worse. I was told many times, hey, other kids did worse, didn't come back. Yeah. But I'm the only one, and they don't keep a record, that was booted and went back and graduated in 104 years or something.
Rocco and I just drank 40s on the golf course. I mean,
that was it.
Everybody's got a story to tell. It's how you tell it.
Yeah.
Mine's not better than anybody else's. I just put it on paper.
So you said you started writing and then you shelved it for a bit and then go back to it. How long are we talking from beginning to end, from first concept to putting it to the side to actually coming to fruition?
2006 to August 17th of 2021.
Wow.
Yeah. So years had gone by and I went back to the school, early stages, not organized. Like I had it written, but I didn't have. Writing a book is one thing, publishing a book is another, and marketing it is a fucking disaster.
Gotcha.
That's all. That's like the summing and the whole thing up right now. But I went back to the school. I talked with the current president, who was my teacher representative in my expulsion meeting.
Okay.
And I was like, he was just telling me about like all the things I didn't know. The school was a registered charity. And we rely on alumni that have gone on and become successful to give back. I didn't know any of this stuff.
Yeah.
And this whole time I went there and I was just living life. I'm like, holy shit, there's so many people that they don't even name that just give silent donations so I can have a good time. But I'm supposed to be having a good time and getting an education. Yeah. I was just having a good time and then having more of a good time. So when I went back there, and that was in and around the time that Mandi was in remission, I went back home. I was reading a little bit to a buddy of mine who had moved back to my hometown in Fort McMurray. We started talking about it, and then we were like, let's do something. Let's do an event or something. And she had passed away. And then we did a big event. We had her brother come up and coach a team. And then Scott Upshaw, who's from my hometown, was playing, coaching with the other team that him and his brother were. And we just had like this big event and tried to get people to swab. And then that's why I had shelved it, because that project to put that event on that was 2 days, took 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Another thing, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, if I were to do a charity event now, it wouldn't take me nearly as long because I know, hey, I don't know what I'm doing here. You got to hire this person or what have you.
Yeah.
And again, taking that hard road every time, doing it the hard way every time. And I guess that's how I learned. But that's kind of, that's when it was like, I wanted to get it done kind of after that. And then some other things happened. Like I got very sick. I had an aortic dissection. All this will be in my second book. So I almost died. And then I came out of that, finished the charity, and then too many things, guys. Like
I was just about to ask you, like, so where did life lead you after the so you, all right, so that was mostly the stories are basically from you in high school, so to say.
Yeah, all the stories are just me from grade 9 up till grade 11.
And then
grade 11 for me.
Okay. And then I'm sorry if you mentioned it before, college. Did you end up going to you go to college?
I went back and graduated.
Okay.
Or went back and finished my grade 12 year because I didn't get my diploma right away, which is another story.
Okay.
Then I went back and I'm like, this is life. And I'm washing dishes in my dad's restaurant.
And then where'd you go from there though? Then where after that?
After that, my family owned a restaurant. I was the baker in the resturant. I fucking hated that job. Then I was a hostess. Then we bought another, what did we do? We built like a semiplex, which is like a car wash, gas station, liquor store. I ran the liquor store for like 8 years, which is hilarious because that's what I was out of school for. So
the irony.
All my teachers, like when they're like, I went back and visited, I've been back and visited quite a few times. They're like, oh, what do you do now? I'm like, oh, I run a liquor store. They're like, yeah, no shit. Like, but I did that for quite some time and then kind of got sick of that. And what did I do after? I went back to school for confectionery consulting. So like the study of candy. And then now I help gas stations like set up candy elements. And then I moved out here and haven't looked back. I've been out here since full-time since January. Got my visa extension in and trying to be a citizen. Love it here.
And you're in Nevada now, right?
I'm in Nevada, a place called Summerlin, which is part of Vegas, but it's like a suburb outside of Vegas. Quiet spot.
Stay away from Vegas.
Yeah, I love it. I only go down there if like friends visit or just, I never really got into it, but.
And what do you, if you don't mind me asking.
You want this place.
Yeah, Tom, I know that. What do you do now? Like, what is life besides the book?
Well, the book launch now is what we're doing now, and that's consumed a great deal of my time. And one thing that they've told me is that you're going to have some weeks that are very busy, and you're going to have some weeks where it's crickets. So I'm kind of just taking that as it comes. And again, this has been overwhelming, but they're reprinting the titles now because they say like the book titles that I hit.
Okay.
And then I guess they start launching it into bookstores and wherever else. So yeah, it's just kind of taking it as it comes. And this is all very new to me. So it's nerve wracking, but it's also really fun to like just to go through this for the first time.
So what obviously Nevada, Vegas is far from Saskatchewan. Like what made you descend on Vegas? Was it your job or was it just, what?
So I have a severe condition with my legs from the surgery that I have, which is like a really long story, but I had an aortic dissection and it affected both of my legs. So the weather where I'm from in Alberta, it can get to be over minus 40 degrees.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's really tough, even if you don't have a condition, which I do, but my legs swell up, it gets really tough. And I just had enough. Like COVID happened and that was a major bullet to my head to get out of there, and love Canada. And I have amazing friends up there, and I would be visiting every month if I could, except with COVID, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
I'll be going home for Christmas and that'll be the first time in a year.
Oh, wow.
That's the longest I've ever gone without seeing my family, but we FaceTime and it's good. It's not the same thing. So I look forward to that. But
so one of the things I'm picking up from, like your stories and your background, you're a big hockey guy.
No, not really. Okay. No, I can barely skate.
I'm incorrect.
I have some good friends that are quite skilled in the sport, but no, not really. I've become very close with Mandi's brothers, Rylan, who plays in Frankfurt, Germany, and Jaden here, who plays in the NHL. And I mean, when we talk or get together, we don't fucking talk about hockey like at all. Like we're just like buddies. I just click with them, and obviously.
Aren't you stereotyping because you're from Canada? You thought you were into hockey.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, I go to games. I watch games. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be there during the Stanley Cup run in 2019 when he was with St. Louis, which was fucking hilarious. Me and Jaden's brother went there to see a couple games, and we ended up staying for like 67 days till like we were on center ice and they hoisted the thing. It was fucking wild.
Nice.
It was a dream, man. It was incredible. Just when you see other people and they've reached the pinnacle of their field.
Yeah.
There's nothing better. And I wasn't in a lot of pictures or anything like that, but to take those pictures that I know are in people's basements or in moms and dads' offices is the most rewarding thing. You know, that was my Stanley Cup.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was just to be there was like, it was like being in a live dream. It was just crazy, man.
I totally stereotype. You're from.
I obviously support the sport.
You're from Canada. Oh, you obviously play hockey, bro.
I could barely skate, man. Even worse.
He can say it's confused. Say, oh, you're from Jersey. You're a jerk off.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Miami. You don't say. I'm out of here.
All right. So the book's out right now. You're promoting the book. What have you been taking away of having your first book out? And the second part of the question is, will there be another book now that you got the writing fever, the book fever?
What I've taken from this is like, you never know whose hands your book is going to get into.
Mm-hmm.
Like the people that have reached out to me, I'm like, oh, cool. This will reconnect a bunch of people that I went to school with, but it's way more than that. Like it's just